Hi, so Season 6 is in full swing, and I'd like to take a moment to show newer and lower elo players what to look for in their play to understand why they're losing games, and more importantly, what they need to improve upon to start winning games. So often videos try and tell people why they're in bronze and how to get out of bronze, but they neglect the issue that the player's play is the most important factor. The first one's an easy one to look out for, and that's being underleveled. If you see yourself being a lot lower level than your opponents or even your teammates, you should instantly know that something's wrong. A lot of times this can be caused by being pushed out of lane or wasting time, mainly. Wasting time is a much bigger thing at lower elo, where you're not clearing objectives and you're not getting experience or CS, so you're spending time and gaining nothing for it, which is probably the worst thing you can do in the game. Next is a very similar resource-oriented problem, and that's being out-itemized. If you see yourself being out-itemized by, again, your opponents or teammates in terms of gold, then you know something's wrong. This becomes a big issue because it dictates trades and your ability to team fight and take objectives. This can be caused by dying a lot, not CSing, or poor objective control. And this means that your opponents are outpacing you and are on a better track to win the game. So dying a lot's not only a cause of problems, it is a problem itself. And one of the main things of this is not knowing your champion damage, leading to poor trades. So, if you're unsure of a matchup, you probably shouldn't be forcing trades that you don't know if you can win or not. And also wave control and ward control are a huge part of not dying. You need to be able to control where your wave's at and have wards in correlating places to prevent the jungler from ganking you. So another big issue is not doing damage. So often people say, I'm not doing damage, or you'll realize one of your teammates aren't doing damage. And this can be for multiple reasons. The aforementioned being out-itemized is certainly one of them, or underleveled. But a big problem in lower elos is not using damage. Often just watch AD carries at lower elo, and they will run back and forth and not auto anything, not use abilities. They're not using the damage they have, essentially. Not building correctly is also a big part of why you may not be doing damage, and you also may not be playing a viable champ in the role that he or she is meant to be played in. These last issues bring us to a very important point, and that may be that you're not winning lane. Now, you don't always need to specifically win lane or snowball your lane, but going even in lane is pretty paramount to winning the game if you're relying on your solo play to do so. So there's several reasons why you may be losing lane. Bad CSing, again, improper trading, bad recalls, unsuccessful roams. Basically, all of the symptoms of these other issues will cause you to lose lane as a whole, which can certainly snowball for the other team and help them win the game. Something that's often underestimated at lower elos would be objective control. Objectives snowball harder and harder as the game goes on, and you can certainly dig yourself a huge hole that you can't get out of if you lose control of them. One huge issue, if you notice that you're losing objectives, is that you're not where you're supposed to be, or you haven't rotated at the right time to the right place. You may not always be able to control objectives, but if you can force numbers in that area, you certainly need to do so, and you need to control the objective. One thing that I don't think most people think about when they try to improve their own play is something like teammates dying. You may think, well, my teammates are dying and it's all their fault, but perhaps you should have been there to help them, and it's not necessarily your fault that they died, but it's something that you could have helped alleviate if you had played the situation better. So this can stem from poor communication or simply just not being where you're supposed to be. Back to the objectives, if you're not currently taking something, using your time appropriately, maybe you should be with your team helping them at an objective, and if they're dying, again, it's not your fault that they died, but you could have done better to help the situation. If you find yourself constantly getting caught, this can be another issue, and this is mainly due to not warding or not being where you're supposed to be. The more you play the game, the more you get the map awareness to know exactly where you need to be warding or where you can go with the given wards that you have. Sometimes it's worth to die for vision, in the case of objectives sometimes. But that's not what getting caught is about, and you need to recognize the difference between getting caught and possibly dying for objective control, which is sometimes acceptable, but mostly you want to stick to the idea of not dying, not giving away that gold, and not further snowballing the game for the other team. So one thing I'd recommend going back and watching your play or have somebody else watch your play for is the ability to team fight. This is absolutely paramount in objective, vision, pressure control in the game, and it basically wins games in most cases. Sometimes there's split pushing and other things going on, but skirmishes and team fights become one of the most important things in the later parts of the game. And you need to maximally use your positioning, your damage, and your CC to help your team win these team fights. And if you're not using that optimally or close to optimally, it's something that you definitely need to work on to improve at League.